Hey, welcome back to the Net to Net podcast. I'm your host, Sam Kelty, NFL edition, and excited to preview and talk about the games that just happened, and preview the new games coming up, and a couple of news relating in the world of NFL football, and then I'll give you my fantasy advice, fantasy like who I like, what matchup I like and dislike. I was gonna do top my mock draft slash top board prospects, but you can go check that out on our college football edition of the podcast, which will be out soon. So let's dive in right now. To preview to talk about what happened last week, the Thursday night game, the Lions versus Packers, 34-20. The Lions win. They're 3-1, top of the division. Dave Montgomery had a game. He had 121 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushing. That's just rushing. I believe he had 147 overall. Pretty amazing game. I didn't think he was going to be used that much, just coming back from injury, but he had a game. We kind of saw the true colors of the Packers struggle. Jordan Love did struggle in that game. Like I said, beginning of the season, I liked the Lions. I predicted the Lions to win the division over the Vikings, over the Packers, over the Bears, which I think was a great pick. I think I'm high on the Lions. They have a great team. They have a great coach. They have great talent all around, and they get Jameson Williams back because of the new betting rule. If you bet on your own team, that's a minimum of 2 years suspension. Since they changed the rules, they've now reinstated Jameson Williams back a week early. So he probably will play this week. Probably, I don't know how much they're going to use him, just because he hasn't really been with the team that much, because how much he's kind of acclimated to the season, but we'll see. The first game on Sunday in London, Jacksonville Jaguars 23-7 against the Falcons. Falcons struggled. Hard. Desmond Ritter had troubles getting out, throwing the ball for the most part of the game. But Bijan Robinson, 14 carries, 105 yards. He is a special talent in this NFL. He is my favorite running back coming out of the draft last year. But yeah, Desmond Ritter struggled, 191 yards. He only completed 13 of 31. 19 of 31. He went 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but he was sacked 4 times. They cannot protect him on the offensive. The offensive line cannot protect Desmond. He also did fumble it as well. Struggled to get Drake London and Kyle Pitts going this week. But Bijan, it was pretty much they could not get anything really going with the throw game, so they did the run game, and it worked out perfectly for them. It was the opposite for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. 207 yards, 23 of 30, 1 touchdown. Travis Etienne had 55 yards, the most rushing on the team. Christian Kirk had a great game. Calvin Ridley had a decent game, but we could tell Christian Kirk is Trevor Lawrence's favorite weapon, and I think Calvin Ridley is still trying to find that chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, because they haven't played. This is the first season they played together, because if you don't remember, Calvin Ridley was suspended last year, the entire season, for betting when he was with the Falcons, and that suspension carried over. It was a very defensive game. Olakuna was a havoc on tackles, 3 tackles for loss. He had 9 total tackles to lead the Jaguars. The Jaguars got to the quarterback 4 times. Josh Allen had 3 sacks. Josh Allen might be one of my favorite for the dark horse for the defensive player of the year. He is getting to the quarterback often. He is having a good game this year. He has 6 sacks already through the first 4 weeks of the season, and forced 1 fumble. Josh Allen's having a good year this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's the sack leader at the end of the season, if he keeps his form up. Falcons, they had an all right. They did all right. They didn't force any turnovers from Trevor Lawrence, but for the most part, it was low scoring. Defense, I think, did okay, but not the best. But yeah, that was from the Giants. Jaguars. Next, we had the Bills and Dolphins. Dolphins coming off their 70-point win, 70 points scored against the team they played last week. They go against Buffalo. They lose by believe, 28 points. Yeah, 28 points to the Bills. Josh Allen throws for 4 touchdowns and rushes for a score as well. Devon Acne continued where he finished last week. He had 2 touchdowns on 8 carries for 101 yards. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen looked like their old self, combining for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns for Stephon Diggs. I think the Bills are kind of still finding their way, but I think they found it. The next game was the Bills and Broncos, which the Broncos rallied from 21 down against the Bears to beat them. The Bears had the lead. They were winning 21-7 going into halftime. And they blow a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter because it was 28-14 going into the fourth quarter, and they let 17 unanswered in the fourth to lose that game, which is terrible play calling from the Bears. Justin Fields looked great. 4 touchdowns, 335 yards. He was finally getting to going. Yes, it's against a bad defense, a bad team in the Broncos because they are in purgatory, just like the Bears. But I think the Bears are more in purgatory because of their coaching. I don't think Nate Albers is a good coach. I don't think they have the right pieces around with Justin Fields. They need a new coach. I don't like this coach. This coach is not good. But Justin Fields needs help with this coaching, and this coaching is not getting it there. But they fall to 0-4. They could potentially have 2 picks in the top 2 picks, the 1 and 2 pick in this year's upcoming draft if it stays like this. Next game is the Ravens and Browns. Deshaun Watson did not play, so they started Dorial Thompson-Robinson, DTR. Most people know at UCLA. A great UCLA quarterback, great college quarterback, comes in. Unfortunately, they played the Baltimore Ravens defense. The defense is strong. Lamar Jackson, they have a bounce back week after their tough loss against Indiana. In overtime, they won 28-3. Great win. The next game, unfortunately, my Bengals. They look terrible. Ryan Tannehill gets the win. Did not look great either. Tennessee did not look great. They really relied on Derrick Henry, but the Bengals, I don't know what's wrong with the Bengals right now, but they need to pick it up. They are 1-3. That is not what a team that just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago and a team that went to the conference championship last year look like. I know Joe Burrow is struggling with injury, but we cannot be playing like this. This is not good. We upgraded our offensive line for this reason, to protect Joe Burrow. We're not giving him time, which is kind of annoying, but we'll see it from here. The next game, Tampa Bay win 26-9. Baker Mayfield 3 touchdowns. Derek Carr struggled again. Saints are 2-2. I don't think Derek Carr is the right answer for the Saints. I think the Saints need a quarterback. Derek Carr is just not doing it for me. He wasn't really a good quarterback. I don't think he was that good of a fit either in Oakland. I think they just need to, depending on how they finish this season, I think they need to restart. Alvin Kamara had 11 carries for 51 yards. He also had 13 receptions in the air for 33 yards. Yes, it's going to be rusty for his first game just because he's coming back from suspension, so he hasn't played that much. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, still playing at an elite level. Their defense is playing at an elite level. But Baker Mayfield, one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks, so it's kind of funny to see him on a 3-1 team with the Buccaneers. The Eagles win in OT. A.J. Brown had a monster game, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 receptions. Jalen Hurts, 319 with 2 touchdowns. Good game. Vikings get the win against the Panthers to keep them 0-4. Bryce Young did return. He had 204 yards but no touchdowns. The Vikings win. Justin Jefferson, 2 touchdowns, 85 yards. One of my favorite. I like watching the Vikings now just because Ivan Pace, he's I believe ranked as the second best linebacker in grade rating wise in the NFL right now. He's undrafted out of UC. He's shown why he should have been picked in the draft. The next game, Steelers versus Texans. Kenny Pickett leaves with an injury early in the game, but C.J. Stroud, he's thrown the most yards to his first 4 games of the season. He had 306 with 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins had a game, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 7 receptions. Yeah, CJ Stroud, 1,212 yards for the first 4 games of the season, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Yes, he hasn't really played that many good defenses like Bryce Young has or some other of the rookie quarterbacks, but don't get me wrong, CJ Stroud is a really good quarterback, and I think he's in the right system, the right fit, and with D'Amico Ryans in Texas, so with Houston. So I like the fit. I think he can. Hopefully, he can continue this, but we'll see. The Raiders lose 17-24, even with Justin Herbert wearing a splint on his non-throwing hand, and you could see it. It was bothering him because he couldn't throw the ball that well towards the end. But he had 3 touchdowns in the win. This is the first game without Mike Williams, who tore his, I believe, ACL or Achilles last game, so he's out for the season. But Josh Palmer stepped up big. Keenan Allen was a big help. Pretty much used those 2 targets the most. Quinn Johnson had 1 reception, which I thought he would do a little bit more. Josh Kelly, 17 yards or 65 yards from 17 carries. He's struggling. They really need Austin Eckler back to help with the run game so they don't have to rely on Justin Herbert. Herbert had 1 touchdown, but 2 rushing touchdowns to make 3 because he couldn't really throw the ball with that splint on. Aiden O'Connell played for the injured Jimmy Garoppolo. He didn't look terrible, but he was sacked 7 times and threw 1 interception. Josh Jacobs is not having a great year this year. They cannot get him going in the run game, but it's shocking enough. He was the leading reception and yards for the Vegas Raiders over Devontae Adams, who was quiet because they kind of shut him down. But Khalil Mack had a game, 6 sacks, total of 10 tackles. That's insane. And they had 7 sacks on the day, and the other sack came from Morgan Fox. Khalil Mack against his former team wreaked havoc. He had more sacks than Oakland or Las Vegas combined, and that was Max Crosby had 2. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, he had 4 quarterback hits. He was getting pressure to the quarterback. They had 5 quarterback hits throughout the game, which is funny, and he had 4 of those. So and he had the same amount of quarterback hits as the entire Vegas Raiders team did. So we'll see. They get a bye week this week. So hopefully Austin Eckler's back for those fantasy players listening. Hopefully he's back. I think having the bye week this early and him being injured for the first 3 weeks helps because he gets a week off and then he can come back healthy. I think the same thing with Justin Herbert. Watch out because he will be questionable because of that splint. The next game is the Patriots-Cowboys. Cowboys have a bounce-back week against the Arizona Cardinals last week to their loss, and they bounce back against the Patriots. Scored twice on the defense in the blowout, 38-3 loss. Zeke Elliott, revenge game, didn't really get going that much, but Cowboys win. To round off the later games, Niners stay 4-0, beat the Cardinals. McCaffrey had 4 touchdowns. I think he had a hat trick in the first half. He had a rushing, and I believe he had a receiving touchdown as well. And then I think he had another touchdown. I forget where it was. But he had 3 touchdowns in the first half just running on 106 yards and 20 carries, and then 1 receiving touchdown, which he was the third. He was second most in receptions, but second in yards. Deebo Samuels didn't really get going target-wise. He was still kind of injured from the last game. He only had 3 carries on 6 yards and was not targeted at all. In the past game, Joshua Dobbs still playing pretty good. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 28 of 41. Unfortunately, they're 1-3. I don't think they stick with Josh Dobbs once Kyler Murray's back, but who knows? It's the NFL. Anything can happen. We didn't think Brock Purdy was going to be the starting quarterback in San Francisco this year. We thought it would be Trey Lance, but last year Trey Lance goes down, Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, Brock Purdy steps up, and now he's the starting quarterback. And he completed 20 of 21 passing. That's pretty good. That is very, very good. 4 quarters of football and scoring 35, and only having 1 touchdown for 35 points. So they did rely heavily on Christian McCaffrey. And then the primetime game at night, 23-20, the Chiefs beat the Jets. Patrick Mahomes came out and said he hasn't played good, even though they started 3-1. They're only lost to Detroit, who Detroit kind of shocked everybody on opening night. But Patrick Mahomes, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He struggled in this game against one of the top defenses in the league. They had Shocking enough, they only had one sack for the Jets, but their defense got it done with the interceptions. Ashton Davis and C.J. Mosley both chipped in for an interception. Sauce Gardner um, played very well again. Didn't really allow a pass catch for him. Um, so that was good. Patrick Mahomes also fumbled the ball. Zach Wilson struggled again. Not as bad this time. He had a bounce back game. Didn't turn the ball over. Had 2 touchdowns at 245 yards. Aaron Rodgers came out and said he liked what he saw from uh, Zach Wilson this week. But they have the talent to help Zach Wilson. I just don't think Zach Wilson is ready to be that starting quarterback yet. And I think with Aaron Rodgers going down, that's a huge ask for him to do again. Because I think this year was just planning to him to sit back and learn behind Aaron Rodgers. But like in the NFL, anything can happen. Injuries happen. Aaron Rodgers go down. Zach Wilson has to step back in to be the starter. But he needs time. We've seen a lot of inconsistency from him. But if he can, hopefully Aaron Rodgers is helping him, teaching him. And then next year Aaron Rodgers comes back healthy. Zach Wilson sits behind him for another year and learns. From the Kansas City side, they need a receiver to help Travis Kelce because he can't do everything himself. They need receiving help. Their receivers are not clicking. Kadarius Toney's not clicking. It's really the tight ends doing everything. They're not really using Valdez Scantling. They're not really using Justin Watson. Rasheem Rice has stepped up as a rookie, but they are not really relying on the passing game. They're relying on Isaiah Pacheco to carry the ball, but he can't carry the ball 20 times and get 115 yards or 120 yards every game. And they rely on him in the receiving as well, and Travis Kelce, but you can't rely on that for the entire season. And then the last game on Monday Night Football, the Seahawks versus the Giants. Seahawks flat out embarrassed Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, and they win 24-3. Daniel Jones, 2 interceptions for about 260 or 203. And funny enough, he was sacked 10 times. Geno Smith was sacked 2 times. Daniel Jones was sacked 10 times for 58 yards. They tried to do a pass play with Paris Campbell, but he got sacked on his only attempt. Daniel Jones also fumbled the ball twice. He lost it once, but he did fumble it twice. He struggled. He somehow was the leading rusher on the team. Yes, they don't have Saquon, so that kind of makes sense, but they could not get the ball throwing. He could not throw the ball well. He struggled. DK Metcalf didn't lead the team in receptions or yards, but he did have a touchdown. He did show up. Kenneth Walker, 79 yards at a touchdown on 17 carries. Geno Smith didn't have to throw the ball that much. Their defense did show up. Like I said, they had 11 sacks. 10 on Daniel Jones, 1 on Paris Campbell. Jordan Brooks got to the quarterback twice. Bobby Wagner got to him twice. Devin Witherspoon, the rookie safety, got to him twice. Cheney Owosu got to him twice. Miles Adams got to him once. Mario Edwards got to him once. And Boe Mafe got to him once. So they got pressure to Daniel Jones in that team. Giants struggled again on the defensive side. Only 2 sacks, only 6 tackles for a loss, and only 3 quarterback hits compared to 14 quarterback hits, 4 pass deflections, 1 scoring touchdown off of it from Devin Witherspoon, 2 tackles for a loss, 11 sacks. They did have 2 interceptions, like I mentioned. Devin Witherspoon did go 97 yards for the touchdown, and then Quandron Diggs got 21 yards on his interception. Kayvon Thibodeau did have the 2 sacks for the Giants, so he is stepping up as that leader, as that pass rusher why he was picked number 5 overall in the draft. If he didn't have an injury-plagued season at his last year in Oregon, I think he would have been a top 3 draft pick, but at 5, he's shown why he's the number 5 still. He's looked pretty good over this year in his second year, his sophomore season. Usually you hear that sophomore slump, but he has 4 solo tackles, 3 sacks. But yeah, he's looked pretty good. Definitely better than his last year. So hopefully he continues that. But the Giants are kind of like, we saw the Giants so good last year, and now they're struggling. So yeah, those are kind of like the recaps from last week. This week, the primetime game tomorrow, Thursday Night Football, is the Bears versus Commanders. I think the Bears will have a bounce back week against Washington, maybe. But I think the Commanders win this and Bears stay winless. I just think their defense is so good. The Washington's front 7 is so good. Like, Justin Fields likes to run, but their offense line isn't bad. It's just they cannot protect Justin Fields that well, and Justin Fields likes to run. I don't think he's going to get much chance to run against the Washington defense. And we're talking about a very good, solid front seven. We're talking about Chase Young, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, and then at the linebackers you got Jamin Davis and Cody Barton and Calais Hudson. That's a very good front seven. And then in the back half of it, you still have Kendall Floyd, you have Carmen Curl, you have Derek Forrest, you have Benjamin St. Juice, you have a very good team on the defensive side. I would be shocked if Justin Fields has a day against this defense. I think this defense is going to shut him down, which is kind of not hard because their offense is not good at all. They don't have tons of getting DJ Moore helps, but when you only rely on DJ Moore, then you're struggling with the rest of your team. And like I said, I think it's the coaching. The next game, the international series, Jacksonville and Buffalo at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think Bills easily win this. I think Buffalo's found their groove. I think Josh Allen and Diggs are on the same page now. Bills win this. I like the matchup for the Bills in fantasy. So any players against Jacksonville's defense, their cornerbacks, I like Diggs. I like Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and I like Gabriel Davis against them. The next game is Texans versus the Falcons, Ritter versus Stroud. I like the Falcons to have a bounce back against the Texans. I think Ritter's going to have a bounce back game, and I think it might struggle against the secondary against Atlanta. They have a really good secondary in DeAlfred, AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, just to name a few. So I think he'll struggle against them. I think he might throw his first pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a low game, defensive game mostly. The next game is Panthers-Lions. I'm going with the Lions. I like the Lions matchup against Panthers. So in fantasy, I take anyone against the Panthers. So Dave Montgomery, Amon St. Brown, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think could have an uptake in play on this team. I just like the Lions' favorable matchup. The Colts-Titans. There is a chance that Jonathan Taylor could play this week. They haven't ruled it out yet. He has come off the PUP list. They have 31 days to make, or not 31 days. That's Cooper Kupp. Sorry. Jonathan Taylor's come off PUP list. He might play this week. They haven't ruled it out yet. So if he plays, that could be less intake for Zach Moss. So I don't like Zach Moss this week. If Jonathan Taylor is back, I would probably stash him just in case Jonathan Taylor gets traded and you can play Zach Moss if Jonathan Taylor gets traded. But I like the Colts this game, because I think they have finally found their groove, and I think Tennessee is inconsistent enough because they can have a really good game like we saw against Cincinnati, but have a really bad game the last couple weeks. So they're very inconsistent. Dolphins easily beat the Giants. I don't really have to talk about much. The people are comparing the Dolphins to the greatest show on turf, and that's the St. Louis Rams when they had Kurt Warner, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk. This team is similar to them because they are very good. You got Mostert and Devon Acne, two good running backs. And Jeff Wilson, that's three. You have Tua Tagovailoa, who's looked very good this year. He's probably one of the favorites for the MVP right now. He's having a great year. They're protecting him, making sure he doesn't get hurt. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are playing really good. So I like the Dolphins against the Giants. I don't think Giants have a chance. Next game is the Saints-Patriots. I think Patriots have a bounce-back week against the Saints. I think Saints are good. It's just their quarterback play kind of sucks. So if they can get Alvin Kamara going, I think that is the key. But the Patriots defense is very good. Yes, they did just trade for J.C. Jackson, who I was going to mention later, but I can talk about it now. J.C. Jackson, they swapped late round picks to get a cornerback in J.C. Jackson, who J.C. Jackson played very well against for the Patriots when his time before he signed that big contract with the Chargers. J.C. Jackson had his best years for the Patriots. He was an All-Pro, a second in the NFL with 8 interceptions that his final year. He looked very good, and I think he can come in and play, slot right in for the injured Christian Gonzalez, who tore his labrum in the loss last week. He's been having a phenomenal season. That's a big loss for him on the backside, but J.C. Jackson comes right in a system he's very familiar with. So I think he can do it. But I think Patriots have a bounce back week against the Saints. I don't think the Saints, the quarterback play is their only issue. Another game coming up is the not Saints, the Steelers Baltimore rivalry. This so far Baltimore has been very inconsistent with the way they've been playing. Yes, they have one loss, but some games they haven't been playing that great, which I like the Ravens in this situation because Kenny Pickett isn't 100%. He's supposed to go. He's supposed to play this weekend, but I don't know how he's going to look. He's also struggled. He has 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So it should be interesting. I think Lamar Jackson and I just think their defense, the Ravens defense is pretty good against the struggling Steelers offense. And I think it kind of has to do with Matt Canada. No one talking to Steelers fans, they don't like Matt Canada. So I think that's like one of the issues that they have in Pittsburgh. So I don't think if they struggle throughout the season, I don't think Matt Canada's back next year. But I do like the Ravens in this. I think the Ravens go to 4-1, and the Steelers drop to 2-3. Next game is the Eagles Rams. I think the Rams have looked bad without Cooper. They need Cooper Kupp. That's all I'm saying. They need Cooper Kupp. Nakuna, Puka Nakua has looked amazing this season. He's had a great rookie season to start his season. I think the Rams look good, but Stafford is coming into this week with an injury. We saw him struggling to walk and move around last week against the Colts with that hip. So be careful watching that if you are going to play Stafford this week. I don't like Stafford against the Eagles, but if you have no choice, you have to play him. I might look at other options. That's why I don't like his matchup against the Eagles. The Eagles' defense is too good. Nakua, I think, is fine to start because he might rely on him, but the Eagles' defense is just so good. We've seen a lot of promise from all these. It's a younger defense on the backside with Nakobe Dean and Keon Ringo, but you still have the veterans of Darius Slay and players like that, and like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox mixed with that young youth talent. So I like the Eagles matchup in this one. If you have the Eagles players, I like them because I think their offense can exploit the young defense of the Los Angeles Rams. I believe their only like experience on the backside is Jordan Fuller, which is kind of shocking because most of these guys are first year, second year guys. But yeah, like I said, James Bradbury, Darius Slay, I like their matchup against the Los Angeles Rams offensive weapons. So I'm leaning towards the Eagles heavily on this one. But yeah, that's my favorite in those ones. The next game is the Bengals Cardinals. I think Bengals have a bounce back week and they beat the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals can hang the Bengals, but I could be wrong and the Cardinals win because they beat the Cowboys earlier this year, and the Bengals have not looked good this year. So I'm very skeptical. I think Joe Burrow only has 2 touchdowns because he can't throw the ball. He can't move. He can't create on his feet if he needs to. He's just been in the pocket, yes, because of the calf injury. But I don't know if it's Zach Taylor, if it's the play calling from Anaruna on the defensive side, because we've been good on defense. It's just our offense has struggled. The Bengals' offense has struggled this year. Yes, we lose T. Higgins for X amount of weeks. I think it's 4 to 6 weeks with that injury he suffered against Tennessee. But I don't know if if our offensive coaching is struggling, what's going on. But we are struggling, and we need to hopefully pick it up. I think this is a bounce back week for us. I think this is a bounce back week. So hopefully the Bengals get the win. I think we just need to we need to win this game. It will help our team more morale, and it will help our team because maybe this is our turning point. We are 1-3, and this is our turning point. We are away. We are 0-2 away, so we are not good on the road. No shocker to any of my teams I like. We suck on the road. It can be the Bengals. It can be the Bulls. It can be the Tigers. Madrid, Chelsea, we are terrible away from our home. The next game is the Jets and Broncos. This will be the first game for the Broncos without Randy Gregory. They did waive him because they have committed to going young, which makes sense because this team's pretty young. I think you're going to see a lot of shakeup throughout the season and next season with the Broncos. I think Randy Gregory will help a team for a contender. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Dallas. But first game without Randy Gregory, and they got their first win last week in the comeback against the Bears, which was shocking. I like the Jets in this one just because the Broncos are so inconsistent. Like Russell Wilson has 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. They just can't get anything going. They are struggling to win games. Like the offense is there, it's just the defense is not helping support. And I think going younger, I think might struggle even more, but I don't like the Broncos in this situation. I think since the Broncos are more young and less experienced, I think the Jets can exploit that with their weapons on the offense, and that's Dalvin Cook gets more involved in the action. Brees Hall is off that snap pitch count. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, they get going. Tyler Conklin, and CJ Usman get going. And then that defense plays very good. I think the Jets win this easily. Chiefs, Vikings, I think the Chiefs win it easily. I see the Vikings still struggling to get wins. So I like the Chiefs in this one. And then the last game of the Sunday night, Cowboys Niners on prime time. I like that. This one's a tough one because I was about to say I like the Cowboys, but I like them. I think the Niners can do it. The Niners will win because Cowboys have been hit with injuries. No Trayvon Diggs, their best cornerback. He's out for the season with an ACL. But I like the Niners in this one. Brock Purdy has looked great this season. Christian McCaffrey has looked great. I think Deebo Samuels will be healthy by then. But I do like the Niners to win this, but I do not like the matchup in fantasy. So I like Christian McCaffrey is really the only person I like in matchup against in fantasy because the Cowboys defense is so good. But we could see same thing with the Niners. I don't like the Cowboys matchups in fantasy against the Niners defense. The Niners defense is too good, but they don't have a Christian McCaffrey type of player that can do that. Maybe I'm wrong. I like Christian McCaffrey matchup against the Cowboys, but I don't like anyone else. Like Debo, I'm not a huge fan of. Brandon Ayuk either, George Kittle either. I don't think they're smart to play. On the Cowboy side, Tony Pollard maybe is in that maybe 50-50. You could trust him against this defense. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, you play him. Other than that, I don't like the tight end matchups with Jake Ferguson or Peyton Headshooter or any of the Cowboys matchups, but I think the Niners win. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think whoever has the ball in the last 2 minutes of the game wins this game, and I'm going Niners. And then the Monday Night Football, Packers, Raiders. I think Packers have a bounce back week and beat the Raiders because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is back enough, and they don't have a true quarterback that can throw the ball. And they'll rely heavily on the run game. And Josh Jacobs has struggled this season with only 166 yards and 1 touchdown. I think the Packers have a bounce back game and win this away from home in Vegas. And then we have the Browns, the Chargers, and the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers on buys. So they won't play this week. But those are kind of my favorites. Who will win, previewing each game, and kind of my fantasy advice there's certain games of who matchups I like and who I don't. But yeah, so and then I touched on kind of only the big news is with the cuts of Randy Gregory being cut and the Patriots retrading for J.C. Jackson. But yeah, those are kind of my who I like and who I don't like in fantasy. My only thing is to just keep an eye on is Jameson Williams coming back from suspension, how much he'll be used. I think he'll be a big asset with the Lions to take the pressure off Amon St. Brown and give Jared Goff another target he can use because he likes Sam Laporte, the rookie out of Iowa. He likes Amon St. Brown. Josh Reynolds has played very well this year. So definitely some people that have stepped up for the Lions. And like, again, I said the Lions, there's something about them. They have a lot of fire. They have a hunger to win. I think they're tired of losing and stuff like that. So hopefully – I'm very high on them. So hopefully Jameson Williams contributes to that. I was gonna end this episode on talking about my mock draft, but that unfortunately it's not ready yet. My big board is kind of there; it's not all the way there. And I talked about it, like my top 10, top 5, top 8 players in each position, but it's not totally finished yet. This early because it'll be throughout the season where I keep building on it and keep fixing it. We're watching games, watching tape of everybody before I make that mock draft. My mock draft 1.0 should be out soon. Maybe next episode or maybe the episode after that. But I will get you a Sam Kelty mock draft 1.0 soon. I just have to look at a couple things and I need to relook at some things. Hopefully, I have time next weekend to look at it and do it. But yeah, so that ends our episode today of Net to Net Podcast, the NFL edition. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. I hope to get this out tomorrow. Same with our college football one. And we'll be back soon with soccer and NBA soon. But like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Like and subscribe. Yeah, like and subscribe on YouTube, like I said, and then like and subscribe on Twitter and Instagram for all the updates. Link in the bio. And then if in the comments, just let me know if you want me to kind of focus on a team more, players, more fantasy advice. And then when I get into my drafts and stuff, focus more on like what players I think fit where the ideal spots are, things like that. If you want me to focus on a certain team, I can do that. Just let me know. Same thing with college football, same thing with NBA and soccer that we can focus on. Like, tell us in the comments. And like once again, like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify and Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, so I'll see you guys soon. Have a good night and peace.